Peace is not something you find by luck. It is something you protect by choice. Many men lose years of their life not because they lack talent, discipline, or ambition, but because they allow the wrong people into their inner world. A relationship should bring calm, support, and growth, not confusion, stress, and emotional exhaustion. This message is not about blaming women. It is about recognizing patterns. When peace disappears, progress slows. When your mind is constantly disturbed, your focus breaks, your confidence weakens, and your purpose becomes unclear. That is why awareness is power. Some women thrive on drama, others on control, and some on attention. They don't always look toxic at the beginning. In fact, they often appear charming, emotional, and caring. But over time, their behavior begins to drain your energy, disrupt your routine, and pull you away from your goals. A man at peace is dangerous to negativity. He thinks clearly, acts confidently, and builds consistently. But a man constantly explaining himself, defending his actions, or walking on emotional eggshells is slowly losing his strength. Love should never cost you your self-respect, your ambition, or your mental stability. The right woman will bring calm, not chaos. She will respect your boundaries, support your growth, and stand beside you, not compete with you or control you. Remember this: peace is more valuable than attraction, attention, or temporary emotions. Choose wisely, protect your mind, protect your future. Because once peace is gone, everything becomes harder to build. The constant complainer is one of the most dangerous types when it comes to destroying peace, because her negativity works slowly and silently. In the beginning, you may feel sympathy for her. You listen, you support, you try to help. But over time, you realize that nothing ever changes, no matter how much effort you put in. She always finds something wrong. If the day is good, the weather is bad. If the plan is perfect, the timing is wrong. If you do your best, it's still not enough. Complaining becomes her default language. Instead of discussing solutions, she repeats problems again and again, draining your mental energy without any intention of improvement. Being around her slowly rewires your mindset. You start feeling tense even before conversations begin because you already expect negativity. Your motivation drops, your optimism fades, and your peace disappears. You may notice that you begin complaining too, not because life got worse, but because negativity became contagious. The constant complainer also minimizes your efforts. When you try to encourage her, she dismisses it. When you try to fix things, she finds new faults. This creates a cycle where you feel unappreciated and emotionally exhausted. Instead of feeling like a partner, you feel like an emotional dumping ground. Over time, this type of woman makes life feel heavier than it needs to be. Peace thrives in gratitude and growth, but constant complaining kills both. When negativity becomes a daily routine, it doesn't just affect the relationship, it affects your focus, confidence, and mental health. The drama addict cannot survive in calm environments. For her, peace feels empty, boring, or meaningless. She needs emotional highs and lows to feel alive, so when life becomes stable, she creates chaos on purpose. At first, this may look like passion or intensity, but over time it reveals itself as emotional instability. She turns small issues into major conflicts. A simple misunderstanding becomes an argument. A harmless delay becomes a personal attack. Instead of communicating clearly, she escalates situations, pulling emotions into every conversation. You often find yourself confused, wondering how a minor issue suddenly turned into a full emotional storm. The drama addict thrives on reactions. Silence frustrates her, calm annoys her, and logic feels like rejection. She pushes buttons until she gets an emotional response because conflict gives her attention and control. This keeps you in a constant state of alert, never knowing when the next issue will explode. Being with her feels like walking on emotional eggshells. You start measuring your words, changing your tone, and holding back your thoughts just to avoid conflict. This slowly drains your confidence and authenticity, replacing peace with anxiety and emotional fatigue. Over time, constant drama disrupts your routine, your focus, and your ability to think clearly. Your mind stays occupied with unnecessary emotional battles instead of productive goals. When chaos becomes normal, peace starts to feel distant, and your life begins to revolve around managing emotions rather than building stability and growth. The control freak disguises control as care. In the beginning, her behavior may look like concern, protection, or love. She asks where you are, who you're with, and what you're doing, not once in a while, but constantly. Slowly, what felt like attention turns into surveillance. She wants influence over your decisions, your time, and your priorities. Your schedule begins to revolve around her moods. If you spend time with friends, she questions your loyalty. If you focus on work or goals, she accuses you of neglect. Over time, you start adjusting your choices not because they are wrong, but because it's easier than dealing with her reactions. This type of woman struggles to respect boundaries. She believes access equals entitlement. Your privacy feels like a threat to her, and independence feels like rebellion. Instead of trusting you, she demands reassurance again and again, creating pressure that slowly suffocates your freedom. As control increases, confidence decreases. You begin doubting your own decisions. You ask for permission instead of making choices. Your leadership weakens, and your sense of self starts to fade. The man you were before the relationship feels distant, replaced by someone constantly explaining himself. Living under control creates mental tension. Peace cannot exist where freedom is restricted. A relationship should feel like partnership, not management. When control replaces trust, your mind stays trapped in stress, obligation, and emotional confinement. The attention seeker measures her value by how much validation she receives from others. At first, her confidence and social presence may seem attractive. She enjoys being seen, admired, and praised, but over time, you realize that no amount of attention is ever enough. She constantly needs compliments, reactions, messages, and approval, especially from people outside the relationship. Social media becomes a stage, not a tool. Likes, comments, and DM matter more than real connection. Even when she's with you, her focus is often elsewhere, chasing the next source of validation. This creates silent tension. You may feel ignored, compared, or taken for granted. Her need for external attention slowly invites insecurity into the relationship, not because you lack trust, but because boundaries are unclear. When attention from strangers becomes a priority, respect begins to fade. The attention seeker often confuses admiration with self-worth. When validation drops, her mood changes. She becomes distant, irritated, or restless, placing emotional pressure on you to constantly reassure her. Instead of peace, the relationship becomes a performance where you're expected to compete with the world. Over time, this dynamic drains emotional energy. You feel like your presence isn't enough, your effort isn't enough, and your commitment isn't enough. A relationship built on constant validation creates noise in the mind, replacing stability with comparison, doubt, and emotional imbalance. The victim mindset woman lives in a constant state of helplessness. In the beginning, she may appear sensitive, misunderstood, or unlucky, which naturally triggers your empathy. You want to support her, protect her, and help her heal. But over time, you realize that every situation in her life has the same pattern. She is always the victim. Nothing is ever her responsibility. If something goes wrong, it's because of her past, her family, her friends, her job, or society. Accountability is replaced with excuses. When you gently suggest solutions, she hears criticism. When you encourage growth, she feels attacked. Problems are repeated, not resolved. This mindset quietly pulls you into emotional labor. You become her emotional shield, constantly reassuring her, defending her, and carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. If you set boundaries, she accuses you of being insensitive. If you focus on your own needs, she makes you feel selfish. The victim mindset also resists growth. Change would require responsibility, and responsibility would mean giving up the comfort of blame. So she stays stuck emotionally and mentally, and anyone close to her feels stuck too. Your progress begins to slow because you're constantly managing emotions instead of moving forward. Over time, this dynamic creates emotional pressure and mental fatigue. You feel responsible for her happiness, yet powerless to actually help. Peace fades when one person refuses accountability and expects the other to carry the weight of their life. The emotional manipulator rarely shows her true nature at the beginning. She appears caring, emotional, and deeply connected, but beneath the surface, she understands how to use emotions as tools to influence outcomes. Instead of communicating honestly, she controls situations through feelings, reactions, and psychological pressure. She may use silence as punishment, affection as a reward, or tears as a weapon. When things don't go her way, she withdraws emotionally, making you anxious and desperate to fix something you don't fully understand. You find yourself apologizing, not because you're wrong, but because peace feels easier than conflict. The manipulator twists conversations subtly. She reframes events, shifts blame, and makes you question your own memory or intentions. Over time, you begin doubting yourself, replaying conversations in your head, and wondering if you are the problem. This confusion weakens your confidence and clarity. Guilt is her strongest tool. She makes you feel responsible for her emotions, moods, and reactions. If she's upset, it's your fault. If she's unhappy, you didn't do enough. This constant emotional pressure keeps you trapped in a cycle of overthinking and emotional exhaustion. Living with manipulation creates internal chaos. Your mind is never calm because you're always analyzing behavior, adjusting actions, and trying to maintain emotional balance. When emotions are used as weapons instead of communication, peace slowly disappears from your life. The energy drainer doesn't always appear negative or toxic at first. In fact, she may seem needy, sensitive, or simply going through a hard phase. You step in with good intentions, offering support, time, and emotional presence. But over time, you begin to notice that every interaction leaves you feeling exhausted instead of uplifted. She constantly takes your attention, your time, your emotional strength, without ever truly giving back. Conversations revolve around her problems, her emotions, and her struggles. When you try to share your thoughts or challenges, the focus quickly shifts back to her, making your needs feel invisible. The energy drainer often depends on you to regulate her emotions. When she's down, you must lift her. When she's anxious, you must reassure her. When she's lost, you must guide her. This creates emotional dependency, where your peace becomes tied to her emotional state. Over time, you begin neglecting yourself. Your routines slip, your focus weakens, and your motivation drops. You feel mentally tired even when nothing physically demanding has happened. The relationship starts consuming energy that should be fueling your growth and purpose. This dynamic slowly empties your emotional reserves. Instead of feeling recharged by companionship, you feel depleted. When one person constantly takes emotional energy without balance, peace fades and mental fatigue becomes a daily experience. The disrespectful woman is often subtle in the beginning. making it difficult to recognize her harmful patterns early on. At first, her words may seem playful or teasing, her actions just quirky or funny, but over time, small instances of disrespect accumulate, creating a slow but powerful erosion of your self, worth, and peace. She dismisses your opinions, mocks your goals, or belittles your achievements. When you share an idea, she may respond with sarcasm or ridicule. When you express your feelings, she might call them overreactions or dramatic. This constant minimization makes you question your judgment and value. Boundaries become a battlefield. She ignores limits you try to set, crossing lines that are meant to protect your emotional space. If you confront her, she may gaslight you, making you feel like the problem lies in your sensitivity rather than her behavior. Over time, this creates internal conflict, self-doubt, and mental strain. Disrespect often shows up in subtle, consistent ways, interrupting conversations, disregarding your schedule, or prioritizing her needs at your expense. It chips away at confidence quietly, so you may not notice the toll until it has deeply affected your mindset. Living with someone who consistently disrespects you prevents peace from taking root. Your mind constantly evaluates her actions, adjusting yourself to avoid conflict or criticism, leaving little room for calm, focus, or authentic connection. The jealous and insecure woman constantly measures her worth against everyone else. In the beginning, this may show up as mild possessiveness or concern, which can seem flattering, but over time, her jealousy becomes controlling and suffocating, slowly eating away at your peace and freedom. She questions your every action, scrutinizes your friendships, and doubts your intentions without cause. Simple interactions, like talking to a coworker, responding to a text, or spending time with family, can become sources of conflict. Her insecurity feeds on suspicion, creating tension where none exists. Constant questioning and mistrust force you to justify yourself repeatedly. You begin walking on eggshells, carefully choosing words, actions, and even thoughts to avoid triggering her jealousy. Over time, this erodes confidence and self-expression. Your life starts revolving around preventing conflict instead of pursuing growth or happiness. She often seeks constant reassurance, asking repeatedly if you truly care, if you're loyal, or if others are more important. This need for validation places an emotional burden on you, leaving you drained and frustrated. The relationship starts to feel like a cage, not a partnership. Living with jealousy and insecurity creates mental stress that extends beyond the relationship. Your focus, energy, and emotional stability are constantly divided between maintaining peace and meeting her emotional demands. Over time, her insecurities infect your mindset, replacing calm with doubt, fear, and anxiety. The material obsessed woman measures love, loyalty, and worth through possessions, money, and lifestyle. At first, her interest in status, gifts, or financial displays may seem harmless or even glamorous. But over time, it becomes clear that her priorities are transactional, not emotional. Love is no longer about connection. It's about material proof. She constantly evaluates what you provide rather than who you are. Your time, effort, and emotional investment are often overshadowed by what you can buy or achieve materially. Compliments are only given when you meet her expectations, and affection is conditional on financial or social displays. Financial stress slowly creeps in because her demands are rarely satisfied. New gifts, experiences, or upgrades are never enough. There's always a higher standard. Instead of celebrating what you do, she focuses on what she doesn't have. This creates a never-ending cycle of pressure and dissatisfaction. Beyond finances, Her mindset often influences other areas of life. Achievements are measured by status rather than personal growth. Relationships are judged by social perception, and happiness is tied to external validation. Living with someone like this shifts your focus from meaningful goals to meeting superficial standards over time. The material obsession erodes peace. Every interaction carries the unspoken tension of financial expectation, comparison, or inadequacy. Instead of emotional support and stability, you're left juggling pressures that distract from growth, focus, and genuine connection. The emotionally unavailable woman appears distant, detached, or even mysterious at first, which can feel intriguing. She may seem independent, strong, or self-sufficient, and you may admire her ability to handle life on her own. But over time, her emotional unavailability reveals itself as a barrier to connection, understanding, and peace. She keeps her feelings guarded, rarely sharing her thoughts, fears, or vulnerabilities. Conversations remain surface level, and emotional intimacy is minimal or inconsistent. You might feel close one moment and disconnected the next, creating a constant cycle of uncertainty. This unpredictability keeps you on edge, unsure of where you stand. Her detachment can manifest as avoiding discussions about the future, brushing off serious topics, or redirecting focus whenever emotions arise. She may dismiss your needs, change the subject, or provide minimal responses to avoid vulnerability. This makes you feel unheard, undervalued, or emotionally isolated, despite your efforts to connect. You often invest heavily, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically, while receiving little in return. The imbalance creates frustration, resentment, and a subtle erosion of self-worth. Instead of growing together, the relationship can feel like a constant chase, where you are seeking connection and validation that she is unwilling or unable to provide. Over time, emotional unavailability disrupts inner calm. You start questioning your choices, replaying interactions, and trying to decode her behavior, leaving your mind cluttered with doubt and confusion. Peace becomes elusive because emotional reciprocity, the foundation of intimacy and stability, is missing. The growth blocker is a woman who fears your success more than she celebrates it. At first, she may appear supportive or even proud of your achievements, but subtle comments, discouraging words, and underlying resentment soon reveal her true nature. Instead of uplifting you, she creates resistance to your progress. She often criticizes your ambitions, belittles your goals, or mocks your efforts in subtle ways. Even when you make progress, she may downplay your achievements or question whether your efforts are worth it. Over time, her negativity becomes a constant mental barrier, causing you to second-guess decisions and hesitate in pursuing growth opportunities. The growth blocker thrives on control through limitation. She may discourage you from taking risks, trying new challenges, or stepping into higher potential. Instead of encouraging improvement, she highlights the dangers, doubts, and failures, real or imagined, to keep you in a zone of comfort where she feels secure. This behavior slowly erodes motivation and confidence. You begin questioning whether your ambitions are selfish, unrealistic, or even wrong. The relationship, which should be a source of encouragement, turns into a cage of doubt and restriction. Mental energy that could go toward personal development is instead spent navigating criticism, defending choices, and managing discouragement. Over time, a growth blocker stifles not only progress, but also peace of mind. When someone close to you resists your success instead of celebrating it, every step forward comes with emotional friction. Peace disappears because your mind is constantly balancing aspiration against conflict, leaving you drained, hesitant, and less focused on your true potential in life. Your peace is your most valuable asset. Relationships should enhance your growth, calm your mind, and support your journey, not drain your energy, create chaos, or hold you back. Recognizing these 12 types of women is not about judgment. It's about awareness, boundaries, and self-respect. Choose people who lift you, inspire you, and respect your space. Protect your mental health, prioritize your goals, and never compromise your inner calm for temporary comfort or charm. Remember, walking away from negativity is not weakness, it's strength. Surround yourself with those who add value, peace, and positivity to your life, and you'll see your personal growth and happiness skyrocket. Peace isn't given, it's protected. Choose wisely.